Hello, this is Miss Dabney, and I'm just here to remind you how to log into your Chromebook, and I would like to share with you some do's and don'ts, just so you're refreshed on what you can and cannot do with your Chromebook this year. So the first thing I would like to do is just remind you of some expectations. Just remember that this Chromebook is to be used for school purposes only. So your teacher is going to plan a lot of super fun, awesome activities that you can do online. However, you're not allowed to just get on and surf the internet, go watch a YouTube video, or go to a bunch of gaming sites unless your teacher is giving you permission to do that. So remember, school purposes only. You want to make sure that you never carry the Chromebook around with the lid open. You always want to make sure, even if you're moving from, let's say, a desk to a table at the back of the room, you need to close the Chromebook and carry it with two hands to the back of the room because the screens are the most expensive thing to fix, and so you want to make sure you don't accidentally break a screen. Make sure you're always treating it with respect. These devices are pretty expensive that the district is providing, so we want to make sure that we just take care of them so that they can last for a long time and so that you'll have it to use in your classroom. And then when you're finished, especially if you're in a classroom where you guys share Chromebooks in a cart, you want to make sure you always sign out. And at the end of the video, I'm going to remind you how to do that, but just make sure you always sign out so that people don't have access to your things. Remember that teachers and also admin, so that means principals, and then even the director of technology, at any point can go into your Chromebook and see what's on your computer screen. So just make sure that you're using it appropriately, doing what you're supposed to do, staying on task, and everything will be great. When it comes to logging in your Chromebook, please remember that it is your first initial plus your last name and then the last 3 digits of your student ID. So for example, if your name is Jennifer Rogers, then you would be jrogers142@asd2.org. After you hit next, it's going to prompt you to put in your password, and that's going to be ASD2, all lowercase, and then the last 5 digits of your student ID number. If you have already logged into this particular Chromebook, then what you're going to see is your display picture and then a prompt to put in your password. If you have never logged into this Chromebook before, you will need to push the little button at the bottom left that says Add Person, then go through the process of entering your username and your password. So remember that on a Chromebook, using the trackpad, you can scroll easily on a website or a document by placing 2 fingers on the trackpad and either pulling up or pulling down. It's just a much faster way than trying to use your arrow keys or trying to click and drag the scroll bar. So if you're a new student to our district, you're going to be some text that you need to read that basically says that you understand this is a school created username and password and that you're going to use it for school purposes only, and you're going to scroll to the bottom and click the blue accept button. Once you click accept, that's going to give you the option to choose a profile picture. You can actually click the little person next to the camera and take a selfie if you prefer, but the point of this is so when you're sharing a Chromebook, you can easily find which login is yours instead of having to type in your whole username every single time. You can just click next to your display picture and then put in your password, and you'll be able to get in very quickly. So if this is the first time you're logging in, it's going to want to take you on a tour. You can go ahead and click that X, or you can take the tour really quickly, whichever you prefer. I'd like to talk to you about just a few differences between a Chromebook and a typical keyboard that you might use on a Windows device. One thing is how you right-click. Right-clicking is very different on a Chromebook. There is no right-click button. And so in order to right-click, what you would have to do would be to put down 2 fingers at one time on the Chromebook. So if I wanted to right-click right here, I would tap 2 fingers, and it's going to give me a lot more options. If you guys want to practice, you can go to your home screen, and if you put down 1 finger and click, see, nothing's going to happen. But if you just tap 2 fingers, you're going to have some options. So one is to auto hide the shelf. Another is the shelf position. Down here at the bottom, this is called the shelf, but I prefer to keep mine at the bottom. Some students prefer to have theirs on the side. Another option is to set the wallpaper. And so this really just depends on whether or not your teacher will allow you to do that. Some teachers use this as a reward. Some teachers prefer it to all be the same. So you need to ask your teacher, and that may be something that you can earn in the next couple of weeks. Now, when it comes to right-clicking, we're actually going to practice right-clicking in just a few minutes. But I do want to talk to you about scrolling. So scrolling up and down, I talked to you a little bit about this before, but in order to make your text go up and down, there are a couple different ways you can do that. So I can click over here with one finger at the bottom of my trackpad, and then with another finger drag up and down. That's one way to make it go a little bit faster. But I can also just take my two fingers and scroll, and you see how quickly it goes then if you do that. So dragging two fingers on the trackpad really works super well. All right, so another thing that you need to know is how to find and pin apps to the taskbar. So remember, I called it a taskbar, but it's actually called a shelf on a Chromebook. So if anything that you have pinned down here, it just makes it a little bit faster for you to get to. So these are some apps that I use all the time, or some websites I use all the time. So I want to make sure that I keep those down here. In order to do this, you just click on the little circle, the launcher at the bottom left. And so this will let you search the apps that you have. But if you hit this little up arrow, it's going to actually show you on your Chromebook all of the different apps that you have. And I can click over here to the right and go down to different pages. So if there's an app that I want to make sure I use, so for example, I would encourage you guys to do Google Classroom. All right, so depending on the app, you might have to come up here and type in the name and add that to Chrome in order to be able to use it. And we do have apps that are whitelisted in our district, meaning that we've given permission for you guys to download. And then there are some apps that we have not given permission to download, and you would not be able to add those to your Chromebook. But if there's an app that your teacher uses or that you use a lot, then you would just hover over that app, tap two fingers on the trackpad to right click, and you would say pin to shelf. And that's going to take it and it's going to put it down here. Now this shelf is customizable, meaning if Seesaw is something that I'm going to use very, very often, I can pull that to the left so it's one of the first things that I see and can click on. I encourage you to pin the Google Classroom app because that is what your teacher is going to use to give you digital assignments, probably Google Drive, and also the Google Files. So if you come up here and just type in Files, then you can right click and you can pin that to the shelf. Now the reason Files is important is because anytime you save anything, like a picture or something like that from online, it almost always is going to save it in My Files under Downloads. And so you would be able to come find the pictures that you downloaded easily if you have that Files icon down here pinned. So another way to be quick is to bookmark sites that you might use frequently. So you can look up here and you can see that I've bookmarked some. I have Gmail, Calendar, Drive, WeVideo, Clever. These are all apps that I use all the time. And so I have bookmarked those. All you have to do is go to the website. So let's say I'm at classroom.google.com. You can come up once you get there and you can click on the star. You can name it. So I want to name this one Google Classroom. And then I want it to be on the bookmarks bar. So I'm going to say done. Now, my problem is I have way too many bookmarks. So just like you can drag the shelf, I can drag Google Classroom up here to the left if I know that's something that I'm going to use often. Interestingly too, you can actually right click and edit the name. I'm going to get rid of the name and watch what happens. I still have the icon, but it doesn't take up as much room. You can't do that with all. So like if you look over here to the right, this is going to be, this icon looks exactly the same as this, but they go to different sites, and so that won't work. But for some different sites like Tinkercad, Clever, WeVideo, they have a unique icon, and so not naming it is an option. If for some reason your Chromebook or Google is just not acting the way that it should try restarting your device. And the way you do that is to push the little round arrow up above 4 and the power button at the same time. If you push those at the same time, it will reboot your Chromebook, and that's going to fix 98% of your problems. Joining Google Classroom, if you click on Classroom, you want to select Student because you are a student. In Classroom, at the top right, there's a plus sign. you have the ability to join a class. And so if you say join class, it's going to have you put in a code that your teacher is going to give you. Or if a teacher's already invited you by email, it might say join right down here at the bottom. So you would just have to click the join button. I talked about how important it is that you sign off of your Chromebook whenever you're finished using it or when you're going to switch classes. And so you do that by going to the very bottom right corner of your Chromebook. So I can show you down here, clicking on the time. And then there will be right next to your picture, there will be the button sign out. And so you want to make sure that you push that button. And when you do, it should take you all the way out and take you back to the login screen. And that's how you know you're ready to close your Chromebook. When you close your Chromebook, please make sure there's nothing in the way, no pencils, no earbuds, nothing that might break the screen, and definitely make sure you do not slam the lid. I hope you guys have a really good year and have lots of fun using your Chromebooks.